Well, welcome to the Kidney Trails Broadcasting Network. And hang on, I've got too many things going on in my head right now. Sorry about that, guys. It's good to be here on the Kidney Trails Fireside Chat. Came in a little late, but hey, that's the things happen when you're live streaming, Little technical issues. I'm still trying to get set up to my new setup, but still trying to get used to some of the things I'm using. Sorry about that, guys. I was afraid of that. We may have to go the old way. Okay, I think we're good now. Anyhow, just here getting used to the new setup and excited to be here on the Kidney Trails Fireside Chat. And yes, if y'all can hear, that is a real fire going in behind us. And I'm really excited about the guest because you know what? I don't think in the show I have ever had a guest. Ain't that crazy? I mean, I think I had D come on one time, but really haven't had much of a guest, like as far as actually sitting down, talking, interviewing somebody. So, really excited about this tonight. It's definitely a little different. Really excited about what's going on. So, you know what we'll do before we get to introducing our guest. I do want to say hello to where is that in the chat? It's called Life, buddy. That's right, Emily. It's called Life. And I'd like to say hello to Laura. Cato from Texas. Good evening. It is life, Emily. It is life. But tell you what, before we get started into the show, what we're going to do is we are going to actually have a little announcement. So let's go to that right now. That was really quick. Maybe I should increase that video link just a little bit because it's like it was there and it was you don't see it. That's because I haven't brought my guest in just yet. I think that's Mike Morales. Anyhow, what we're going to do is basically we're announcing that the Kidney Trail Press is actually publishing a new book for the love of success by Yermi Kirkus. We are really excited about that. We've been having tons of discussions with him. Really excited about what's coming up for that. So we're looking for that. So you know what? Without further ado, I want to bring in our guest. I want to bring in who I consider an individual that was really mentored me. And we're going to talk about some really interesting things, especially one portion of it where it says, where he pretty much told me, look, if you're not willing to do anything to help yourself, I can't help you. It really got me moving in the right direction. So without further ado, I'd like to bring our guest in. So let's have a little introduction for him. What's going on, Joshua? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
So far, so good. So far, so good. Just enjoying
There's a real fire going on. There's a real fire.
Yeah, I got some sound effects going on.
Oh, I thought you was like there's a real fire. So no, yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm excited to be here. So it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Some different things. I'm messing around with my audio. I've been on some other live streams. We've been kind of playing with some audio, and so this is just a little bit of my playing with some sound effects, really. So
Super cool.
Yeah. So the fire it's down below Joshua. If you can't see it, it's burning down there. So that's a good thing. But really grateful to have you on the show, Joshua. I've really been looking forward to this one. You and I go back a little bit, don't we?
We do. So yeah, a lot of defining moments.
Yeah, let me get this feet off here. Sorry about that. We had a feed issue here. Yeah, it really was. It really was. And it's interesting because and before we get into all of how we met and everything, let's first of all we ask all of our guests in any of the KTBN shows, and what we ask them is give us a quick 2-minute introduction about yourself, who you are, what you do within 2 minutes.
Yeah, wow. I, I am a. I like to cook. I listen to great vinyl. That's all the important things about me, as well. And so team, and we're just a team of like creative and human centered designers. These awesome partners, organizations,
It, your audio is cutting in and out.
Sorry. How
it may be
touching the mic? Are we good?
Yeah, it keeps cutting in and out. I don't know if it's the headphones or anything. It looks like your bandwidth's good on my end, so I don't know. Just keep going on. If we have anything, we'll fix it. Now you went mute on me. The joys of live streaming. I love it. You're still mute. Unless it's me. Hey, everybody in the chat, if you can hear me, let me know. Just drop it in the comments. Because I don't know if it's me or if it's Joshua. You can keep talking, Joshua. I mean, I don't know if did your headphones disconnect or something? Well, we may have to go this old-fashioned way. Hang on just a second.
How are we?
Yep, I heard a little bit of something coming from you. Go ahead and keep talking.
All right. Philip's saying we can hear you. So I interview myself. It's all
yeah,
good.
That's fine. Go ahead.
They can hear you too. But Laura's saying, hear me.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. I don't know. Sometimes wireless headphones have a little issues.
Let's do it.
That's fine. Let's try that now. Well, I can try to bring him back in and bring him back out. Well, I'm glad y'all can hear me. And Joshua, you can keep talking. We'll when it comes across, it's fine. This is a casual chat live stream. Things happen. We don't worry about it. We move with it. Let's see.
All right, how are we doing now?
Much better.
Beautiful. Yeah. We problem solved it. Beautiful.
Exactly, right?
There we go. All right. Awesome. Love it. There we go. All right. So, Philip, Laura, Emily, can you all hear me? Are we good?
Yeah, you're right, Emily. It's always
like, I'm going to go and say yes. Yeah, so I'll dive in, man. Let's talk. So I'm part of the Spill team. I'm just like really one of like the design, strategists there, man. We get to just do some really cool stuff when it comes to people strategy. Like just being able to work with some awesome organizations, man, from like globally to like higher ed, local government, for-profit, nonprofit, and really just help them with kind of moving forward, man. Some of the best assets that organizations have are its people, and that is usually where all of the great ideas, strategies, processes, problem solving happens. So it's never just this thing that's on the wall. So we get to go in, man, and do some really cool people strategy stuff. So it's a good time. And on my off time, I am drinking bourbon, listening to music, and doing some creative cooking or something. So,
we can bring in some music if you want. I don't mind bringing a little music.
No, we're good, man. Because you might you might have me vibe out, and then that's it. So, but no, man, that is me in a nutshell. Originally from Brooklyn, New York. I say Brooklyn and Richmond, Virginia, kind of raised me, and I get to just do some really cool strategy stuff, man. It's a good time. It's fun.
Yeah, and you do great work from what I see, and some of the conversations you and I have had. I mean, we've talked about some of the things you do, some things I do, and really, it goes back to kind of how you and I. Emily likes bourbon as well.
Beautiful. That's what's in this cup, Emily. No, I'm kidding.
Or maybe I've got water, guys. Yeah. Of course, a green cup on a green background works, but it's interesting because I'd like to talk a little bit of how you and I met, because I think that's very key. When I first met you, and we met through my mother, I think, if I'm not mistaken on that, my mother said you got to meet this really wonderful individual. His name's Joshua René. I don't know if she gave me your card or whatever, but somehow we connected. And the next thing you know is that I was meeting you on my lunch break when I worked back in the municipality, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of how we met. And that conversation was, and to all of you out there in the audience, the way this all worked out is Joshua, we sit down, both him and I sit down, we're eating at this Japanese restaurant. Now, mind you guys, I was on dialysis. Well, what year was this? Do you remember the year? Was it 2014, something like that?
God, yeah, it was back, yeah, a few years back, yeah.
It's been a while.
Yep.
So I think it was about the time that I had caught the vision of what people see today with KT, part of it. And we had sat down, and you're like, man, what are you into? And you had just started the Spill team, correct?
Yeah, it was probably probably looking at like 8 years ago, probably. So yeah, somewhere around that.
So you had just started the Spill team, and we're sitting there talking. You're like, so man, what do you want to do? Your mom's been telling me all this stuff you've been doing, this great stuff you've been doing in the dialysis industry. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And next thing you know, I'm literally pouring my whole heart out, my whole dream, my whole vision. And we're both excited. I go away very stoked about what the conversation is. Really, just driving down the road, dancing to the music, jamming out, just having whiskey, just really having a good time. And just because of the fact that I wasn't the only one to see the vision, because you caught what I was seeing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which it's very unique. And is that something that happens? Is if do you always catch somebody else's vision, or is that something that it depends?
That's a great question. No, it's a great question. For me, I tell people a lot. If you don't have to convince me, then it's real. Like, and I'm just, it's, and I mean, I'm not like me, like everything. I'm not the thing. But if we're talking, then clearly I'm part of the conversation. And as I'm hearing you, and I'm seeing it, and if I can see it, and you don't have to convince me of it, then in my mind, you are to be held accountable for the clarity of that vision and bring it to life. And the fact that it doesn't have to be explained in super detail or convince someone that's the thing. Like, you saw it and I literally could see it, and I'm like, there's no other option but to build that thing. There's no confusion around it. It makes perfect sense. This is who the people will be impacted. And so part of our conversation walked away with, if you and I were going to meet again, I was going to hold you accountable to build that. And so then we probably met again, right? And that's probably where we're going with this conversation, right? Several times after that, but yeah.
Yeah, because we did. We met again quite a few times, like you said. The last time I can remember, because you got to understand what you're seeing. This Joshua saw this from when it was starting a vision to where the vision started to diminish, and really where I started to lose sight of where I wanted to go with this.
Mm.
And it happened. What was it in 2018? So you think that's 4 years, and we'd been conversing, texting, chatting, talking, and in a way, really a good mentor. But we met at a coffee shop. I better not say any names. Don't want to get in trouble.
No sponsor dollars there. You don't have any sponsor dollars. You can't drop any names right.
Yeah, I can't drop any names right now. That look good. Oh, here, coffee shop. Late. We can't get that. But we met at the coffee shop, and I had just bought a little blue computer. I remember that. And we were talking about some of the different things, and you knew something was off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could see it. Something had happened. And I remember sitting out in front of that coffee shop and said, you know what, man, I think I just really need to focus on my family and just do that.
Yeah.
And what was your reaction when you said that? What's the first thoughts out of your mind when you started to see this great, but you do the great vision that someone had, which was me at the time, and then you get to this point and you see that vision diminish? What was going on in your head?
Yeah, what I saw in you in a moment was you feeling like you had to pick, and that was really, and sometimes the priority of our life really requires our attention in order to eventually build momentum. I call it the rubber band effect, where you pull back to shoot farther. But in that moment, what I saw was you feeling like you had to pick one, and you were willing to give up your dream and your vision for the sake of family, which is not a bad thing if you have to. However, the other side was you didn't have to pick. It was just going to require a lot of work. It was going to require a lot of development and a lot of work to be able to fuel both, to be able to give the energy, the excitement to both, to be able to clock in with your family when they're all in bed, then you go clock into Kidney Trails. And so it was just going to require both. And so I saw this desire to like just let me just do what I know to do, which is lean into my family. And I don't think that was the option or the best option. And I was like, the other option is going to be harder, and you are going to have to just work harder. And then that's kind of where I was. I was like, you know what? And I think you know that. And so I felt like you were wrestling internally. You were like, man, I really want to, but what it's going to require of me is a whole different beast. It's a whole different way of thinking, a whole different way of being. And I basically said to you, until you can help yourself, I can't help you. And that help yourself part was really you deciding. It was you making an internal decision as to like what you were going to do. Because the moment you decided, I was like, I got you. I could help out.
Right, right. Hang on just a second. Let's try that and try that. See if that helps with the audio. It was. I was at this point in my life because I had this vision, and I felt like I had to pick between the vision and family. And for me, family came first at the
Absolutely.
time, which is not a bad thing, like you said.
Yeah.
But I go back now, of course, to what Les Brown said when he said, "Imagine you being on your deathbed and all the dreams and the visions and all those people you're supposed to touch standing around you and seeing you and saying, where were you when we needed you? We called you to do this, yet you disappeared. Now we're going to die with you."
Yeah.
And I remember walking away. I felt so dejected. I felt defeated, really, because to me it was like, okay, we got this. You know, I don't know. It was a pretty awesome experience now versus
I call them defining moments. I call them the moments in life that truly define like the direction you go. And I felt like it was just one of those defining moments where you were put in a room by yourself with a decision that you had to make.
yeah,
And I felt like it was one of just those defining moments that gets to be a part of your story that literally carves out the existence of Kidney Trails and just the existence of you deciding like that internal decision to say this will be the thing I bring to life and impact people with is no joke. Like it's no joke. And I see people wrestle with that decision for a very long time. Like I see them wrestle and they'll go back and forth and back and forth. And you decided that both was going to get your head, your heart, your passion, your resources, and all of it. But I see people stay stuck in that decision a lot. So to me, it's a defining moment for you, man. It's a moment that carved out the direction that you probably would forever take.
it was. And but the thing is, when it came down to it, I remember when I caught it again. I
Mm,
remember that day. It was 2020 when I finally got it. And I said, because I'd been public speaking, I've been doing it for a while. I'd done it since 2014. It was 2019. And I had tried to do it. I went back to the drawing board. I tried to start this. I tried to start KT under two different names. Both of them never even got up off the ground. They failed miserably. But 2020, I really caught it back. And that's when we ended up getting back together. What, 2021, something like that. We went to dinner
yeah.
and we sat down and we started talking again. I remember coming in, I was like, I don't even know if he wants to see me after that talk because it was as if, and to all of you out there, if you have a coach or a mentor and you can see that look of disappointment because they know you can do more, you can have anything in life you want, and you're not willing to go for it, and you see that disappointment in your eyes, it does something to you. And I
Mhm.
remember it tore me apart, and I was so nervous to come back to that next meal to talk to you about what was going. I mean, I was excited about everything that was going on. I mean, there was things were growing and building, and really excited. But I was like, is he really even going to want to talk to me after all this stuff? Is he going to think he wasted time? But when we sit down and talked, I think you knew. I think you knew even before then because you had started to see stuff up on social media.
Yeah.
but you knew that something had changed. And this is the thing, and this is what I'd like to point out. And you're right, Emily. Persistence is the key. But here's that's rubber band effect. Wrong comment. Went down one too far up. That makes sense. Anyhow, it's at that moment. And I think that's for you as a coach or a mentor. How does that feel when somebody, not just me, not in my case, but I'm sure you've mentored a lot of other people, when they finally that light bulb flicks on and full light enters the room? How does that feel for you?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. My first instinct is I'm excited for you, and Milton, when the light switch kicks on, it's let it be you or anyone else. I'm excited for you. But what I'm more like excited about and what I see is the people you impact now. And that's the thing. Sometimes by not choosing like your call or your purpose, um, what you do is not choose the impact of the people that's waiting for you. And so my letdown or my heart dropping was not that you didn't choose like to respond to your idea, your call, or whatever it may be, but that there were people waiting on you to build kidney trails. There were people waiting on you to do this thing. And so when I do see the light switch kick off or when I see the moment happen, I'm like, that is phenomenal. You have chosen your purpose and you have chosen those individuals and you're on your way to them to go impact them. And I'm elated, man. Like, it's super excited because when you impact them, they impact others. And it all came from your choice, right? And so I'm excited, not just for the person that the switch clicks off on, but everyone that they're supposed to impact who they've not met yet.
Yeah, and the thing is, it does it feel like your time was well spent?
Yeah, that's a good thing. So what I've learned, if I can be honest with you, throughout the past few years, just my own leadership growth journey has been the difference between responsible to like 2 and 4, right? That I am not responsible for the people I mentor and coach, right? I am responsible to them, and I'm responsible to respond to the choices they make or whatever they bring to the table. But I'm not responsible for their purpose, for their call, for their ideas, for their effort or not effort. That's their responsibility. So what I've learned in that is the to own my part of it, and my responsibility is to respond to you as you respond for yourself, right? As you are responsible for yourself, I am responsible to you. And so it's the letdown sometimes is that struggle between like sometimes I wanted for someone so bad that I wanted to like shake them and I wanted for, but that's the wrong posture to take. And that's those one aren't good boundaries. And that's the wrong posture to take because that for that's your responsibility. You're responsible for you. I am responsible to you.
Right.
So for
And
me, the feeling is to live in that space of like what happens when someone owns like you, they're responsible for themselves and they own that decision. And then in me as a mentor and as a coach, what I'm responsible to do is to respond to that. And I'm excited, man. I get super excited when you own your place, your purpose in this world, and then again, just those you're supposed to impact.
yeah, it and I saw that, and I've seen that over the time from my personal experience, and just even and what's interesting is I've been able
Dude,
to
you're killing it, by the way. Can I just go ahead and say, like, one, you are killing it, by the way. I am watching you. I'm watching from afar and on social media, and I am like, I'm seeing all the in people that are responding and the impact. Like you, by the way, can we celebrate? Isn't today like 1 year of kidney trails?
it's 1 year. No,
Look at that,
no, no,
man.
no,
Can we
2 years. No,
two
1
years?
year for Kidney Trail Press were 2 years of Kidney Trails. So Kidney Trails was the original blog that I started that
Right.
was your idea, but Kidney Trail Press, the actual business that the LLC, this is 1 year. It's our
So
1
I'm
year
gonna go and say
anniversary.
it's 1 year. Legally, IRS says you're 1 year. So can everyone throw like a hand clap in the chat or something like that for that? Because that's a year of everything you all have been chatting about: struggle, persistence, all of these things. That's a year of this man right here, like leaning into that. That should be celebrated. That is a good 365 days of building a thing and staying the course and being persistent, embracing the struggles. Like that's no joke. That is no joke. So that decision we talked about you making, that's you making it for a year consistently straight.
Yeah. And it is a year, and that's an interesting thing, to do this and to really be in it for, uh which is interesting to me because this it all comes back from 2014 with our initial conversation. And it's taken, and I've seen people, and it's interesting to me. I find this fascinating. People will say, "Yo, you have grown so fast." Not really. It's been a process.
Yeah.
2014 was when all this started. Was it on paper that it started? It was on paper in my journal and in my head, but it hadn't started.
Yeah.
Until so what people are seeing now, the growth is really it's the Chinese bamboo tree effect. You water it, you grow it, you nurture it, and eventually you have it pop up. But once again, while it's a 1 year, you're part of that because you were a big portion in why this started by your guidance and your direction. And I've always said this in anytime I speak to anybody, and I've told this to a lot of the people that took care of me when I was in dialysis, is that we are. It's not me that's standing on the stage. It's those people that worked with me day in, day out, took care of me, the coaches and mentors. My uncle is another one that mentored me. You definitely, and so many other different people.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that stand in the stage. Not necessarily, yeah, I'm there. I'm the voice, but I'm not the one. It was because of all of them that are behind me that have
Yeah.
held me up through the rough times, through the tough times. And I can tell you, it has not been easy.
Yeah.
There's been days I've even said this, throwing my hat across the room, said, "Is it really worth it for me to keep pushing at it?" But then I would go pick it up, said, "Of course it is. This is just funny talk to you."
Man, there's a team member. That we've done some workshops and some talks before, and she introduced. There's a term that a psychologist talks about regarding we love paradox, right? At the Spill team, we love paradox. But she ends up saying when you're talking about a thing, let's just go with kidney trails for an example, that you can respond to it such as this is hard, this is fun, and it can be both. You can actually sit with like the paradox of both, that it is the most challenging thing I have ever done at the same time the most impactful thing I've ever got to be a part of
Yeah,
at the same time, at the exact same time.
it is. It really is.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Alexandra Rosa, she's actually one of our partners at KT. She owns Spice, which is a company that helps out. Her company helps out with burnout, for nurses and healthcare workers. Does things, wonderful things
Phenomenal.
for them. But you're right, Alex. It's worth it. And I know each one of us have had that story where we get in that struggle. You're right. There's some days it's really it's hard. The struggles where, I mean, the late nights get to you. Okay, when you're working till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, you have to get back up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to get back to work, or to get kids wake up, whatever. You go do your thing, then you're back at it that night. It's that struggle, but then you start seeing who it impacts and
Yep.
the positive change that happens, and you're like, wow, that was phenomenal. It's like I just got through talking to a group over in Scotland 2 weeks ago, something like that. I can't remember the date. It was amazing to be on the virtual stage because we were in a room, Zoom room, really. And it was amazing to be able to talk to some of these top business leaders in the industry over in Europe.
Love it.
And here, little Ant is teaching them about having the mindset, was it having the mental, having the mindset of an ant is something similar. We're talking about taking the ant and their the positive things about them, flipping into a business mindset. So, all that being said, it's really like it goes back to it. It's those that are behind, those that have pushed me out and pushed me up. Like I said, that night when you actually kind of pushed away and said, "I can't do anything for you because you can't do anything for yourself," really pushed me towards the right direction, and really probably made one of the most impactful moments of my life that I'll be able to remember.
That's cool. I'm humbled by that. But yeah, you put in the work, man. I think at the end of the day, man, those defining moments like really help solidify like value systems, right? Values and beliefs in us. And they create, and that's what we measure like to and against are our values and beliefs. And the moments it gets hard and the moment we no longer want to, our values and beliefs are in question. That's what's kind of happening. It's coming against and you have to remind yourself about those values and beliefs. And you get to switch to, regarding, let it be if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, or you have a role inside of an organization, whatever it may be. you get two options, right? You can say I have to or I get to. Like I have to go do this thing, and so all of the burden that kind of comes with that, or you get to say I get to go do this thing.
Yeah. And that's I could definitely get in that. I'm going to leave that discussion for another time. But you're right on that. Have to. There's a lot of people, and I think even in every day-to-day work, those that even if they have a 9 to 5 job,
Yeah,
I have to go into work. And this is something I've tried to share with others that I know is that don't look at your 9 to 5 job that I have to. It's like one of the things I say, you can be employed by somebody else, but work for yourself.
yeah.
Well,
Anything you do that impacts someone, this selfishness. I mean, it's the ability to say that I get to put in this work to impact someone, like, and sitting down and holding that versus like I have to, right? It just develops a different mindset, which ultimately, your thinking affects what you see, and what you see affects what you do, right? And your effort and your resources. So it's really shifting the way that you think. No plug to Spill Team there at all, but it is doing that so you can change the behavior, right?
yeah.
So it is reminding yourself of those values and beliefs and stuff. And so I love it, man. Yeah, we are here because you've been diligent, man, and you took that defining moment. I didn't leave you in the coffee shop or leave you at whatever it may be, but in a sense I did leave you. I left you alone with the decision that you really needed to make by yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes a mentor, a coach, a leader in any particular way, if they try to take on the responsibility for someone, they cloud that person's ability to make that decision for themselves. And so sometimes I do talk about the difference between a coach and a mentor, right? The mentor says there's moments where you can be both or be either or, but the mentor is like, I'm going to come alongside you and walk through this thing with you. A coach, often when the coach is on the football field or whatever field and he runs onto the field, he's most likely told by a referee to get back. This isn't your place. You are not supposed to be on the field. These are the players that are supposed to work this thing out. Your guidance comes to them from the sideline. And so in those moments, there's a mentor moment where it's come alongside you. But in that moment, it was a coach moment where it's like, I'm going to leave you on the field. And you're
Right.
going to have to decide.
And that's that
And
sounds
you
like
decided and you won. You won,
yeah.
brother. Yeah,
It,
you
yeah.
decided. And
Yeah, and I think, and that's an interesting thing because one of the things is since I started KT, I've had the opportunity to work with people that have tried to start new organizations or to start a new organizations, new companies, and then they come to me asking me all these questions, and all this comes back to what you and I've talked about, other mentors and coaches, and I've talked about really sharing some of the different things. And there's sometimes, and I can tell you to the audience, definitely, if you've heard Josh's side, when you have to let go of somebody and just let them figure it out themselves, it can be a little tough on you. But then you realize, okay, it's their decision. Whatever happens, they're responsible for what they're deciding. I'm not responsible for what they've decided. I've
right.
given them everything that I've given my heart and soul. Now I can't help them anymore, so it's time to step back. And I've had to do that a couple times.
Yeah.
And
There's nothing wrong with that. We call that healthy boundaries. We call it
yeah,
healthy boundaries. It is owning one's position in someone's life. And
yeah,
it's saying, I like in that moment, I'm responsible to your efforts and you're responsible for your decisions and your efforts. And it just showed me a moment where you needed to be put in a position to be responsible for yourself and for your decisions because Kidney Trails is your dream, not mine. You know, it's
right,
so I can respond to that, but Kidney Trails was the thing that was birthed out of you and your story and your experience, and so you are responsible for that. I'm just responsible to your efforts.
right. And that's true. And like I said, I've seen that, you know, and I kind of got how you felt when I had to do that to some of those individuals. Thankfully, there has been some positive sides to that as people have actually redefined and saw where they need to be.
Yeah,
But it can be definitely a challenge sometimes and definitely tough on both of them. You know, you
and
walk
we're
away.
humans, man. We're
Yeah.
humans that are moved by so much thought, emotion, and feeling, and passion, and all these things. And so I always say, man, that like your head and heart have to connect around how you live life. If emotions take over, it shuts over the rational brain, right? And the rational part of the brain that makes good strategic decisions. But if you're all head and no heart, then all you're doing is making strategic decisions and not incorporating the human experience. So the best decisions are made from a place where head and heart connect around a thing, where you take those passions and that energy and you actually position it in the correct way, right? Those boundaries or owning one's position to say, I'm going to take my passion for you and my love for you and my hope for you, but I need to structure it so it's not this really just ball of like, oh my God, go live your life and do this thing. That it's a structured strategy that helps move one forward, with
Exactly.
purpose. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, exactly. And we talk about all that, and um I find it fascinating. I really do. And Emily says owning one's positions. Thanks, Josh.
That's it, man. You got to own your place, man. There's not another you. You got to own your place in someone's life. You
It,
got to
it,
do.
it, yep. And I think that's Hannibal said it made you dig deeper. You're right. It did. I'm gonna go back through the comments and kind of see what we got because we've had a lot of comments. D, my COO or my CEO, Kenny Trail COO, is we're not for life but forever. You're right.
Love that.
We'll be around for around for a little bit. Hopefully, that's the thing. That's our goal. Head and heart, same as mind and muscle. Just saying.
Love it.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Great one, Emily. And you're right, D. Purpose with passion. So when we think about that, and I think one thing from me looking back now, because I can look back now and say, see where I was at, okay?
Sure.
And the question that I have for you is this, because I know what happened with me. What is more important into someone achieving what they want in life? Is it a vision or is it a goal?
Yeah. Vision all day. All day. Yeah. Vision all day. Like I think it goals are tasks and checklists and milestones, and those are great. They help you kind of measure how far you're moving along. Um, but without vision, you will just move along and move along and move along and move along and just be achieving a bunch of goals without what D was saying, passion and purpose, right? So your vision is your trajectory. Like your vision is your North Star. It's that thing that like you're always going toward, knowing you'll never really achieve it. And that's okay because you should always be going toward that North Star. But without the clarity of that North Star, then you'll do what I kind of call you'll be on a treadmill, running, wasting energy, and going nowhere. And so, without the vision, without the clarity of the trajectory of where you're going, then my question is, where are you spending your energy doing? And,
That's
and we
right.
try to cloud the fact that we're doing as purpose. It's like, no, an example, if I was like, well, where are you going with that energy? Well, I'm going this way because of this, that, and that. Well, then it sounds like you have clear and concise vision. But if people are like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out, and all these other things, then I would pull back, pause, and ask those clarifying questions of where am I going? Why am I doing it? What's the North Star on the trajectory? So I would say vision all day. Vision is the North Star, and then you develop your goals of how you're going to actually get there.
Right. And I think it even says it in the word, where there's no vision, the people perish, correct?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that's the thing. That's an interesting thing. I look back now, my vision got clouded.
Yeah.
My vision of what I wanted to achieve and do got so clouded. And I had the family, and I think in all reality, the family saying about the family was an excuse.
Yeah.
Is an excuse because I had lost the vision. I didn't have it. I didn't keep it up. And so here I am standing in the middle of outside the coffee shops, almost, feeling rejected and tears about to fall out my eyes because it wasn't that you had pretty much you said what you said, but also is more I knew I lost the vision
Yeah.
of what I needed to do. I
Yeah.
lost the vision of it, and I was going to start using what I call the hamster philosophy of work instead of the ant philosophy. The ants got to have a vision because they got to know what they're doing. They're storing up for the winter, right? So the hamster just runs on the hamster wheel really hard and gets
Right.
nowhere in
Right.
life. And that's where I was at. And that's the interesting thing about that. And I do, that is so true about the vision. Now, is there anything else that you would place high on there as far as importance to reaching your dream other than just vision? Would there be something else you'd put in that?
Yeah, man. I believe, this is naturally, I'm a human centered strategist. So this is exactly what it is. Um, if I can plug human centered design for a moment, this is what I would say is that, human centered strategy is not thinking of yourself less. It's just thinking of others more. Right. And I would begin to have people pull apart, right, their vision in a sense. I would get them to challenge it, and they have to. This is a huge self awareness exercise. But if by any chance the idea of the thing you're going to build, the role you have, strokes some part of you, let it be an ego, or let it be that's mine, in a sense, like ill pride, not good proud pride, but ill pride. If it strokes any type of negative internal thought or behavior, I would do something about that. I would personally recommend that someone sit down with that and to say, man, even kidney trails, it could be whatever, that the moment I get to do my thing, my purpose, that there's some sort of trigger that triggers this level of like pride or bad thought or ill will or selfishness. It could be selfishness, right? Kidney trails can be built. Let's just go. I'm using kidney trails as an example, not that it is, but kidney trails can be built to serve people, but it doesn't mean it actually serves them well. And so I would ultimately say that around any idea that someone can work on, like any leadership role or position or whatever it may be, is to begin to tell the difference if you're like serving people or serving them well. And if you decide to serve them well, then what you have to do is kind of decide that you'll do it in a human-centered way, which is elevating individuals above yourself. And not in thought and in intention, because intention and execution are two different things. In actual execution,
Right.
to ensure that the way that you're actually building, strategizing, meeting, marketing, branding, whatever you're doing, that you are actually executing in a way that actually drives that intention. So the big question is, when no one's in the room and I'm sitting with my idea or my vision or my business or whatever it may be, what's the real intention? Not the intention based on what I hope happens, but if you look at your own behavior and you become self-examiner of yourself, what's going on? Like,
Right.
what's really happening? And whatever answers you come up with, I'd recommend dealing with that.
Right.
Because anything you go do, any strategy or business you run, it will be a residue of that. And it'll show up.
It will. It definitely will. And that's the thing. It's definitely. You're right. See, Emily, this is why I wanted to have him on the show. I knew he has a great message, and what he does, and especially what he does with the spill teams, is absolutely phenomenal. And what he does to help other people. So we do appreciate that. But
And
this
I just want
conversation,
to be honest real quick. I don't want to like deflate people, but I do want to. Everyone is charged to do this with the responsibilities they have in the world. Everyone is charged because by nature we are protectors of self, right? And that could be in a meeting with staff, it could be in an organization, it could be whatever it may be. We are protectors of self. So I would really recommend getting good at that challenge and that self-examination and figure out what's happening inside, um, because that protector of self can lead to some ill types of pride and ego and my idea and all these other things. And so I would really just kind of learn to challenge that protector of self. Not that you get it perfect, but just be good at challenging that protector of self. Be good at doing it.
definitely, and I can tell you, I do that quite often
Yeah,
myself.
absolutely. We all need to. We all
I
need to.
mean, challenge to see exactly, and I do, and this is the interesting thing, and I may be making a what would you call it, they're almost like a Easter egg announcement, so to speak, or what they call. But over the past, I'd say, past couple months, I've really had to go back into what KT's been and what it is, and re-examine it and make sure that because I saw myself getting off track. I
Yeah,
saw myself. I was like, and I told my team, and that's the other thing is, you're right, self-inquiry, Hannibal, self-inquiry. Yes, I saw myself. I remember where I was at. I was driving down the road at the place where I was at. And I was just driving down the road, and I started to question what KT was really doing. I saw we were doing a lot, but a lot of nothing.
sure.
So I had to go back. I had to self-inquire. I had to go back and check and say,
There's a lot of hollow noise out in the virtual social media world and stuff too. It's noise, but it's hollow noise.
"Oh, you are so."
Yeah.
Ooh, that is a show that we might have to go and collab on a show on that one, talking about hollow noise in this social world. That might do some table flipping and table flipping in the temple, so to speak.
Sure, sure, man.
Because
It's hollow noise. Yeah, no
it yeah, and that's the thing. I had to go back and restructure, think about where I was at, where were we really going, and this next week, we are gonna officially announce what we've been since day one and why we have refocused some things. Really, it's a refocusing of what KT is,
Yeah,
and it's exciting because I never thought that something in the renal or the medical industry yeah, you're right, would be not really known as, people like to announce that we're, advocates and all this other stuff, but in all reality, what KT here is to help people grow.
yeah,
Personal growth, self-development, help get you up to the higher place. You're here, but you can go here.
yeah,
Because I see myself in dialysis.
yeah.
I could still see myself in that chair
Right.
and see where I was at, seeing the want, seeing the need that I had.
Yeah.
And it's like, I
Isn't that?
want
I mean, that realignment. It's so funny. That realignment isn't mean that we all get off course, right? I mean, we. It's so interesting. Like we'll take our car to like go get. If you don't realign your car, what starts to happen? You can still go forward, right? But like you're gonna like you got to hold the wheel hard. You have to like it's gonna mess up some tires or some rotors or whatever it may be. But however, if you can pause for a moment, take that thing, go get realigned, your journey and your role is smoother, man. And it's the ability that we all have to do it, man. You all have to have those moments where you do a maintenance check, right? On your head, on your heart, on your purpose, on your strategies. Because scale, even as you get busier, let's just say you're doing everything right and you're scaling in a good way, you still need to go realign. Sometimes it's just for validation. Sometimes it's good to validate that my car is in good shape. Cool, let's keep going. And then
if it's not, get it
sometimes
fixed.
yeah,
Yeah.
if not, get it fixed. Like you just said, if not, work on it, get it fixed. And there's nothing wrong with assessing vehicles, kind of pulling to the right a little bit, guys. Let's pull over and get this thing fixed so we can continue this
Yeah.
journey. Yeah.
And that's what's happened. And I think it's phenomenal to see that. And it experience as a business owner, it's like wow, it's like I started it all over again, you know?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like it's like, man, I started all over again. We got this goal, the vision of what I've wanted, always wanted. And it's funny because it came back to exactly what you and I had talked about that first conversation. That first conversation you and I had. And yes, we are more self-development and personal growth and that, but it's going back to where it needed to be, but still continue. We can still continue to do the same work. Here's the interesting thing, and when I think about who you are, there's for people that have been mentors in my life, there's had to be some type of mentor in their life. What is one of your biggest influence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was 19 years old. And so I was 19. I remember I was in my background is in the world of human services. So I've always worked in organizations that have directly served people. And that's a little different than an organization that like makes pens, right? They make a product that then goes in the hands of people. Every organization I've been a part of has directly like their product was people. So I've had a lot of leaders. I've been in leadership roles where I've ever been, but I was 19 years old, and I'm Puerto Rican, by the way. So I'm Puerto Rican, 19 years old, and I had a supervisor. I was working in an education department at a time. And I was actually working in a treatment center with youth and adults, and we were kind of navigating thinking and things like that. Fast forward, really excelled there. And the education side, there was a principal that was like, "You should come and substitute teach. You should teach. You should teach." I was like, cool, I'll try it. So anyway, I started teaching. Fast forward, I ended up loving it. But my current supervisor on the treatment side wouldn't let me go. He kept postponing my transfer date, and he wouldn't let me do it. He just kept postponing it, saying we need Joshua, whatever it may be, and he kept postponing it. So I would go to the principal who I was teaching for. Her name was Melissa, and I'm like, Mark, my current supervisor, just pushing this date, pushing this date. Next thing you know, I come to work one day, and I get pulled into HR's office. And I'm like 19, 20 years old. And I get pulled into HR's office. The VP of HR, actually the president of HR is sitting there. And Mark and Melissa are both in the room. I was like, okay. And there's a seat for me right in the middle. And I sit in this meeting, and we ended up having to share the story of me wanting to go to this to the treatment side, to the education side, sorry. And I'm watching Melissa and Mark like fight for me. I'm watching Melissa and Mark like fight for me, like where I was going to go, which department I was going to go. It got to the point where the HR president looks at Mark and says, "You need to give Joshua and Melissa a date, and you're not leaving this office until there is a date solidified and in writing where Joshua will transfer into Melissa's department." Anyway, I get that date. Fast forward, I start to work for Melissa, and Melissa ends up being the most dynamic leader. And it's beautiful because I am a product of a female leader, which is amazing. I am a product of a female leader, and I'm a product of a white female leader, as I am a Puerto Rican man from Brooklyn, New York. And so tons of diversity, equity, and inclusion all in that story. However, Melissa invested in me in ways that I would never recognize until later, where she developed me personally and professionally. It was both. It was both simultaneously, individually, isolated. Like, it was all of it. Plenty of closed doors conversations, but she grew me holistically. Like, she grew me holistically as a person. And I'll never forget that until later. It planted the seeds that in order to fully grow someone, you have to grow all of them. And she did that. And to this day, won't say my age, but to this day, I can literally call and text her right now. I could text her right now until I'm talking about her, and I would get a text back. You're talking decades later. Now, I've had tons of leaderships and supervisors since then. But you realize you asked me a question, and there was only one I talked about.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it's just that one person, because
Yeah.
I have found out, because I've done interviews with other people. I've had the opportunity to talk to some really great people, and I
Sure.
like to know who was their mentor, who did they learn from?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's always somebody, to me, at least what way I see it, there's always, at least for me, there's always somebody greater behind that person that is great, and it
Yeah.
just keeps growing and growing and growing. For me, I know, you're definitely one of those people that were behind me. My uncle was definitely one of those people behind me, and a few others that I can think about, but definitely y'all two were some of the biggest influences in my life, and in moving in the right direction.
Yeah. I
It,
appreciate it.
just that time spent, that the thought process, helping us through that. So I think that's it.
Well, for me, her name was Melissa. So
Yeah.
Melissa is she is the epitome of what leadership is, and it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful to not only think about how she grew me personally and professionally, what she was doing. I didn't know what she was doing at the time. She got me. It was good. And then as I reflect, that was a male, and I was a Puerto Rican male from a city, and this white woman took me under her wing. In the midst of all of her counterparts were males, and I'm watching her just navigate this male-dominant industry. And what I love to this day is that when people are like, "Man, Joshua, great job, Spill Team, great job," I get to say, like, part of my story is I was developed. I'm a product of a female leader, which is powerful. So I am all for women empowering women, but I'm a product that a woman can empower, man.
Yeah, I know some women that have had a very substantial part in helping me grow as well.
Absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
different ones that I've seen, and what they've done, what they've taught me, and different. And that's the thing is, and I like this is, don't be a follower of people, be a student.
Yep.
So be the good student. And I think Jim Rohn did say that, is to be, don't be a follower, be a student. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
You're a willing student, and they're a willing teacher. You can learn great things.
Absolutely.
So,
Love it.
what's next for you, Joshua? I mean, we still got a few minutes, I think. If you're good,
Yeah, man. So what's next for me is just continuing to grow in the Spill Team. We are actually, well, I guess I can let everybody know secretly here. We are working on an education arm of the Spill Team. We've been doing strategy and problem solving in Spill Team Live and doing talks and keynotes for a long time. But we are actually working on a credentialed education side to the Spill Team, where we work with organizations, man, and we teach them to think and strategize like we do. And so the goal is that the organizations would no longer need us, that we would train someone and teach someone and educate someone to the point where they had someone that thinks and builds and strategizes like we do internally in their own team. So our education side is to kind of do that. It's to empower organizations to no longer need us, but to eventually invest in someone on their team or in their organization to be a human-centered design strategist. So that's a pretty fun, exciting time that we're in the process of building that. So it's going to be cool. It's taking all of what we do and how we do it and putting it into an educational curriculum where people will leave learning how to think and work like we do.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's
That,
exciting. This is
that
hard. This is fun. Yeah.
right. That's phenomenal. See, I love to hear what's going on with you and this build team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've connected with some of them on LinkedIn, but
Cool.
seeing what you're doing, seeing all the
Connect
things.
with them all, like Nathan and Shannon and Frederick and Tim that's in the UK. I mean, we have a Spill Team
Yep.
UK, so Tim's in the UK. Like, connect with all those just awesome, crazy, wild, strategists, creative individuals. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely will be connecting with more. And the same goes for you. You're more than welcome to connect with any of my team out there.
Love it. Love it. Will do for sure.
People
For
in
sure.
Arizona, Florida, a
Love
lot
it.
of them around our area. But yeah, I think this has been very interesting. I've been really looking forward to this talk
Yeah,
and to
man.
really kind of give people an idea of what really happened.
Yeah,
What
dude.
really
Your journey, man. Your journey is one. Man, you took your story and decided to just become a part in everyone else's story. Like you decided that like kidney trails would become a part of someone else's story because they all got a story of kidney trails right inside of them. They all got like a very interesting show, a very interesting kidney trails type of idea or strategy inside of them. And you're literally doing what people have done for you, right? You're kind of creating that little bit of light at North Star for individuals, So I just, man, honestly, dude, your story alone um, is one of the building blocks and foundation for everyone else's that you're impacting. So it's yeah, man, it should be humbling and powerful, and you should feel all that good pressure on your shoulders.
trust me, it does. It is something I have to step back a lot of times and just look at it and just uh, because they didn't see. I like what John Maxwell said. He said, "I wish people could have seen me when I started."
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Because if they would have seen me where I'm starting to where I am today, they would realize something happened. And part of the journey, they didn't see the long, lonely nights that I
yeah,
was weeping on the floor because things were not going the way they needed to go.
man. Greatness is built
But
from that. Greatness has to be
watered.
built. I think greatness has to be built on brokenness. Like I think it has to be on something. There has to. I mean, think about it, man. You don't ever go to the doctor really and be like, "Hey, can you fix that thing that's already healed up?" Like something's not really working, and the moment you become curious about it is when you start to evaluate like the brokenness or the dysfunction or something. And it could be in an industry. I did that with my own industry. My background is like human services, psychology, business, and design thinking. I looked at my own industry. I was like, something's broken.
Yeah.
Something's broken in my own industry, my own discipline. And when you get curious about that, when you get curious about like the gap that's there, I think that's just real, man. And humility is the breeding ground for curiosity, man.
Yeah. Well, is there any we're getting near the end of the show. Is there any last words, any words of wisdom you would like to leave our audience?
Man, whew, just one word. I was no, nah. I think if I could leave anyone with anything, man, is that it's kind of a plug to human centered design, but um, it's measurable. It's like human centered design is measurable. So when you start to create anything, a process, a team, a strategy, I always say measure to and against the individuals you're trying to impact. Measure to and against them, and invite the individuals into the room. Don't always fill it with the smartest people in the room. Invite individuals that you are trying to serve into your process of thinking, working, and building.
Yeah. Wise words. Well, Josh, if you don't mind just standing just in the sticking around for a little bit longer in the back room in the green room.
Absolutely,
I
man.
think we're gonna go ahead and close out because we are literally at 59 minutes and 30 seconds.
Look at that. It's been a good time, man. Everyone is just, it's been fun, man. I
It
appreciate it.
it
Proud
has
of
been It has been phenomenal, and I've really enjoyed. And this is the reason. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see some changes with the fireside chat. We actually have scheduled guests all the way up until October, working into November. So you're going to see some guests. We've got some people coming from Scotland, somebody coming from Glasgow, somebody coming in from North Carolina. You never know where we're going to get our guests in, just to hear a little bit, have a fiርስide chat.
Love it,
So
man. Good time.
without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the outro video if I can find it here. But we appreciate everybody's time, and y'all have a great night. See y'all later.